All right, everybody, welcome to Fluttercon in New York. We are doing a Q&A, and there's already a sneak peek on the screen because I didn't actually make an introductory slide. This is the first, I don't have anything else. Yep, that's what I'm going to do. I'm Eric. I'm a developer relations engineer on the Flutter team.
Hi, everyone. My name is Seth, product manager on Flutter.
I'm Andrew, and I'm on the developer relations team as well.
And I'm Mitchell, and I'm an engineer on the framework team at Flutter.
Andrew is being modest. He's my boss. So everyone be chill.
If anyone has feedback on Eric after the event, just please come up to me.
Okay, so we got some questions ahead of time. There's only a handful of questions, and then we're going to go to audience questions after if we have some. So we'll get started. I put up an easy one first for me. This is directed at me. As Flutter adoption grows in large-scale production apps, is the team considering releasing official architecture patterns? Yes, we are, and we did in September-ish on the website under app architecture. So that's an easy one.
Do you mind if I add a little bit to that?
Yeah, go for it.
So this is sort of a pet thing for me because we avoided giving any kind of architecture and state management guidance for a long time on Flutter because it's something that everyone will have a different opinion on, and they won't necessarily be wrong. And so it's a challenge to put out something that's useful to everyone. And it's also an area where the folks in the Flutter community at large, not just the ones that happen to work at Google, will have very valid opinions on and can do a lot of good work. And so we tend to try and focus our doc stuff and our effort in general on things that are, I don't know, a little, I don't want to say harder to work on, but things that being at Google helps to work on, put it that way, and being able to sit down and get paid to work just on that thing for a long time. So that's why it took so long, but we do have the guidance that Eric worked on that talks about a lot of the principles and presents a solid architecture.
And if you saw Clint's talk earlier, he said that they're good, so don't take my word for it.
Can I jump in with a question? Any plans to put this guidance into like a rules.txt file that folks can use in their AI agents?
So plans is a strong word. I've been playing with Claude Code, or I don't know if I should say that, that's a competitor, but I've been playing with Claude Code, and like it's really crazy how easy it is to just say like make this app, but make it use MVVM instead, and it just does it. So I'm kind of like playing around with what that looks like as like a resource for other Flutter developers. So we'll see. All right, next question. I thought that was like a 1 second question, so.
And then I ruined it.
All right, so the next question is, okay, thoughts about liquid glass. When will Apple's liquid design come to the Flutter? Does Flutter support the new liquid glass effect? Are there any known limitations to doing a glass effect? So I think you're going to answer this one.
Yeah, so since I've been working on the Flutter team, I've been working predominantly on Cupertino, and we've been really pushing on Cupertino recently and pushing out a lot of new updates. And part of that push is we've been really focusing on where we can putting logic down from material or Cupertino down into the widgets or base layer, so it's available to both and to package authors, anyone, and creates more areas where you can go into the code so you're not rewriting the whole thing. And we've been seeing a lot of success from that, and we really want to keep pushing that direction. While we had these thoughts, Material Expressive came out and Liquid Glass came out. We had some warning about both of them, and we made the decision to keep pushing that direction, but with more focus. We are still figuring out what that looks like exactly, and we're going to have more communication about that in the future. But for now, we're not doing anything as a team for liquid glass. We are, in the meantime, looking out for how developers want to use it. Liquid glass has a pretty wide range in how it's used, between kind of like the basic blur effects and the really fancy, like liquidy effects. And we don't know if all those are going to be used, or if just the basic version, or if Apple themselves are going to pull back the design. So it's a bit of a moving target. That said, we were optimistic that the community, with the tools we've been making, would be able to come out with good solutions in the meantime. We've been kind of blown away by the packages that already exist, by really great devs putting out really solid implementations for how early it is. For problems implementing that, we're looking out for what we can do to support those, and our own any engine limitations on implementing those with shaders and things like that, as well as if we need to support like physics-based interactions. So summarize, as a team, we're not doing anything right now, but we are focused on the underlying layer, trying to be multipliers towards implementing things like this.
Anything to add? Nope. All right, there you have it. Only one answer. Okay, when will Flutter support TVs? There's actually a couple of questions about this. And as I was looking at the questions people submitted yesterday, sitting right there, there was a talk right here about all the ways that you can run Flutter on TVs. And you should, I think it's going to be online. Someone said it might be online already, if not by tomorrow. It was called Build Spectacular TV Apps with Flutter. And in addition to that, we know like LG is building, doing a lot of work on making Flutter run for WebOS, which is, I guess, what they run the TV apps. WebOS is what it's called, right?
Yeah, there were actually a couple people from LG here. I don't know if the LG folks are still here, but they were here yesterday, and we're talking about some stuff with them. So,
and Simon also pointed out to me today that there are like actively maintained packages so that not only can the app run on TVs, but it has, like the widgets you need to like recreate the TV's UX. So I guess the long short of it is Flutter does run on TVs. I don't think it's not on our current roadmap that we are going to like officially support it, whatever that means, but I don't think we need to, because it already works.
yeah, if the question is about sort of when you would expect to see like television listed among the 6 platforms in the Flutter tool,
Yeah.
I think that probably is not currently on the roadmap, but it is absolutely something that does run and that people are using in production. So,
all right, next. All right, these questions seemed related. Well, I guess they are exactly related. Is there a clear roadmap and timeline for direct native interop? Sorry, I just made a noise.
Oh, good. Yes, so if you have seen some of our recent announcements, we made a call for sort of an early access partner engagement to help us test this direct native interop. It's really important for us to help reduce and remove the friction between you and accessing the underlying operating system, APIs, capabilities, and arbitrary SDKs you might find out there. So we're really looking forward to how some of those initial engagements go, to make sure that we can kind of shave off any issues with the APIs and developer experience, and then make more docs and more instructions more public for all of you, hopefully soon.
I mean, I certainly have nothing to add to that, so thank you. When do we expect WASM full support to be ready? I think I'll answer this unless anyone has strong opinions. So it's like, the long story short, everything that the Flutter team can do other than like fixing bugs and improving performance, it is ready today. You can use a flag and your app will run. There's some browser implementations for non-Chrome browsers, some browser like details that need to be fixed that the team is working with those browser vendors on. And then there's a lot of packages that need to be updated to support WASM to like really so your entire app can run in WASM. So if you want to contribute to Flutter, one of the best ways that you can do so right now is by helping package authors update their packages to support WASM. And I think that is really the biggest milestone, but you absolutely can use WASM today if you know all the packages you're using uses WASM. And when you use WASM, it ships with both WASM and JS, and then it's smart enough to know like this is Safari, so I'm going to use the JS file. So it's fully supported in that way, but we need to get the rest of the ecosystem there. All right. Sorry about that weird noise. What other areas might be explored for Dart other than Flutter, like server-side frameworks or embedded systems? Okay. I was just going to say ServerPod is here.
Yeah, I was going to say there are several people here who are doing exactly that. Jasper, I mentioned yesterday, is another area where it fits a space that wasn't filled before, right? A DOM-based Dart framework that's been built from scratch for Dart is a really cool thing. To be honest, this is a question that might not be answered by the people on this stage, right? It'll be answered by what the needs are in the community and things like, yes. I'm sorry? So you're doing a shared library in Dart, you said?
And Godot.
Oh, wow. Oh, Godot's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, we have people on the team that are game developers and do Godot on the weekends. Yeah, that's cool. So yeah, where Dart is, the Dart team has, we measure satisfaction for the Dart programming language. You may have seen our quarterly surveys and stuff like that. And since I've been on the team, the satisfaction's gone from about 80% to 90%. And that's because they are very motivated to listen to what you all are saying about what you need from the language and to evolve it to match and meet those needs. So wherever you see a place that Dart could go, but that project doesn't exist, you might be the one to start the project. And if you need something from the team, maybe that's the issue that you file that gets Dart something it didn't have before. And then that opens up your project. And you find yourself like Killian, who now has a project, Jasper, with 1,500 stars and is sort of off and running. So hopefully that answers the question.
I would really like to see Dart on the server take off, and I think ServerPod is like an awesome product. So if you are the person that submitted this question, you should go look at ServerPod. And if you aren't, but you need to write a server, you should also go look at ServerPod. All right, next. All right, I think this is going to be one for Andrew. How future-proof, he's just the best at talking. How future-proof is a career in Flutter today, and what kind of opportunities or challenges should new developers expect?
I did agree to answer this question earlier, and I suddenly regret it, but no. You saw us do Flutter in production last December, and you saw some of the numbers that I repeated yesterday, and I will keep repeating because this comes up. Flutter is a huge deal, right? More than 1 million developers and stuff like that. Like we are here, but as you keep going with your career, you're either going to be moving from one way of applications in one framework to another, or you're going to be evolving how you use that framework over the course of several decades. There's a thing at Google that tracks how many languages you've submitted code in. And I think I'm up to 13 now in 10 years. I struggle to think what you would be. Actually, been at Google even longer than I have, and you worked on Fuchsia and stuff like that. But that's just how it is, and I've been using the web since 1994 or whatever, because that's how old I am, just to age myself in front of a bunch of strangers. But the web now is completely different than it used to be then, and I've had to relearn it multiple times and things like that. So one of the things that I would encourage anybody who asks this question or is wondering about this topic is some advice I got from Todd Volkert a while back. He's an engineering leader for Flutter. He was like, every now and then, sit and think about what you want your resume to look like in 3 years. What do you want to learn to do with Flutter that not only is good for your career right now, but no matter what happens will be good for your career 3 years from now. You know, do you want an open source resume that's bigger than the one you have? Do you want to learn how to use, you know, building agentic apps? You know, that's a skill that's going to carry with you for the next 10 or 20 years, no matter how you choose to do it right now. So learning that with Flutter right now is definitely a good idea. So that tends to be the perspective I have on this question, and hopefully that provided some value to anybody who asked this.
Yeah, one thing that I think makes Flutter really good for folks kind of starting out is it goes everywhere, which means you can go everywhere in your career and experiences. When you're coding with Flutter, you're not just building Flutter UI, you're connecting into the operating systems, the SDKs, on mobile, on desktop, embedded, iOS, Android. You get to see into all those different environments, communities, deployment mechanisms. Like, it is a great way to just broaden your skill set and go to everywhere, making you extremely valuable, because it's not just so much about that one technology, it's about solving problems for users on all those platforms, and Flutter is a really great way for you to explore that and grow those skills.
That was a very excellent point. And a personal anecdote, like, I got a job once, it was like 2017, I guess, and they were using Dart, Polymer Dart, is that the web components framework? And they said, go learn about Dart. And I was like, I don't know what that is. But then very soon after, we started learning Flutter, or like started using Flutter, replacing our mobile apps. And now I've never been an Android or iOS developer. Like, that's my job. And I feel very confident that I could figure it out if I needed, if like that was what I needed to do to get a job. Because I've rooted around enough. So I think that's a very clear-eyed point. All right, this is our last submitted question that we're going to answer, and then we'll go to the audience. So this is for Seth. What's the next big thing for Flutter?
Next big things, plural. Happy to answer this. So there's a lot of exciting stuff going on. So I put together a couple of themes here that we can share and talk about and maybe take some questions on. The first we touched a little bit about, but that's fine. One of the themes, the next big things for Flutter, is just making it easier to be extensible by you, to make it easier for you to take it to places you want it to go. We talked earlier about direct platform interop, just reducing or moving the friction to code against bleeding edge platform APIs or that one SDK that you're looking for. We talked earlier about learning from the community who are bringing liquid glass to Flutter, and then learning what can we do in the engine and the shader support, et cetera, to enable the community to bring liquid glass to Flutter. So really looking at the lower level aspects of our stack and make sure that they are approachable, understandable, and you can leverage them to bring Flutter and the experiences you have in mind everywhere. Okay, next theme. It's pretty clear that the future of human-computer interaction is through more agentic experiences, and I think Flutter and Dart is in a very good position to help you bring those new computer-human experiences to life. What's really exciting is that deep in the DNA of Flutter and Dart, I mean, Flutter came from a fork of Blink, and Dart originally was going to be a language for the web. Again, deep in its DNA is one where we envision that these technologies would be used in a more ephemeral, dynamic, just-in-time way. Those are the capabilities that we'll need to build those agentic, dynamic, ephemeral experiences of the future. And so we're really looking at, again, foundational technologies to enable all of y'all to experiment, prototype, and really lead the industry on what agentic computing can really be, given a more dynamic, ephemeral experience powered by Dart and Flutter. So very excited for that in the future. We touched a little bit about this, and I'll hand it over to Mitchell, but another big theme for the future of Flutter is becoming a platform for design systems. So I'll hand it back over to Mitchell, a little bit about what we're thinking there.
Yeah, historically, Flutter's been very strong with material, and we've made it strong with Cupertino, but we really want to focus on enabling custom designs, as well as just shrinking the layer for material in Cupertino so it's easier to build on top of. Really working as framework developers on what we're best at and leaving making it easier for community members to do the more like app developer type styling and come in and help us, and just making it much more of a collaborative process.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you look at all the top-ranked apps, it's pretty clear that everyone's using their brand-rich, custom design languages and systems, and they're being successful with Flutter. We think we can do more here, and we can do better here for y'all. So it's a really exciting future for Flutter. Okay, next up. It's also really clear that everyone's using AI coding assistants and agents in some capacity in every little nook and cranny of your workflow, either just like help me write a test or do this entire feature set and complete the PRD from the beach. And Flutter does pretty good here, but I think there's more we can do here. So another big theme in terms of the future of Flutter is continue to make it really, really, really good for you to work with that AI coding agent and assistant as build these compelling experiences. So for example, like we've brought Flutter awareness and support into the Gemini agent in Android Studio, for example. We saw earlier in the keynote this morning about the up and coming Dart MCP servers. Investigating bringing Flutter to Firebase Studio's prototyping agents. There's a lot of work we're going to do here, just making it really, really easy for you to just rapidly solve user problems and ship those features using your AI coding agents and assistants. In terms of the future as well, an evergreen future is just making Flutter work really, really well on continued releases of new operating systems. So obviously WWDC was just a while ago, and so we're tracking iOS 26 and all the sort of repercussions and opportunities there to make sure that when those stables land, they're really well supported on Flutter. Same thing with new Android releases, et cetera, supporting WASM on the web. So that kind of evergreen, continue to support the latest and greatest that the platforms have to offer. And the last one, we've been really thinking about and investigating possible ways to increase release frequency. So what I don't have a ton to say there yet, but in terms of the future of Flutter, we're looking for ways to, again, just increase the frequency by which we release stables for y'all. It gives get the new hotness, the new fixes out to you more frequently is something that we're looking at as well.
Nice. Is this? Wait, is this working? Yes. Okay, man, I can't hear myself now. That was weird. So there we go. Now, okay. So that's all the questions we have that were submitted that we're going to answer. So I guess now we're just going to do live, you know? We'll do it live.
Do we have a microphone for the folks, or am I holding the microphone? I stole the one for the audience? Yeah, I'm really empowering. I just do that.
So I suppose... Yeah, just go for it.
Softball, I don't know about that, but one of the things that I'm working on at SoFi is modularizing our app and enabling multiple teams to work faster in parallel, and that means splitting features into their own feature packages, core packages, things like that. One thing that I was really excited to see was the investment in workspaces, but maintaining and upgrading packages is still really difficult. Flutter upgrades are very difficult. There's other things about pulling down compiled pub caches from our build system that would be nice. I'm just wondering if you guys have any plans on improving or iterating on that sort of a workflow for large teams that might have modular apps and modularization patterns.
Does anybody have a answer that comes to mind or want to try?
Thank you for the question. It is really important to ensure that Flutter and Dart and all the tooling help support the growth of all these apps in terms of number of folks contributing and number of features you're shipping. I don't know if we have anything specific to answer there, but I think we're really interested to meet up right after this and learn more. Apropos to that, Simon and I were also brainstorming in what ways could we leverage some of the new offline agents like Jules to just help crank on upgrading the packages for us. Because I don't know about y'all, but I've had some good experience with some of these agents updating the deprecated methods that might come in after you try to upgrade some of these packages, and then just fix it all for me. So I think there's some opportunity, at least some aspects of the problem statement you said there, for us to like hold some of these agents in a way that will do some of this grunt work for us. But I'd love to learn more about some of the scenarios you have and see what we can do, either holding some of the tools we have, or like, can we do something lower level like workspaces that can unlock some of this other growth that you're needing to see.
Hi. Oh, that's loud. I have a question about the formatting that was introduced in Dart 3.7 and then loosened again in 3.8. Even though it went through like some sort of open proposal on GitHub, was that misinterpreted or didn't it reach the right people? Because I noticed a lot of people prevented upgrading their projects before they could loosen that formatting again. And if so, is that something that we can do better in the future for those types of proposals?
That's a really. Is this one on? Yeah. Okay. Cool. Oh, you're right. It is. Yeah, it's lower. People should. I think the formatter is a particularly interesting case. There was, as you mentioned, an issue on GitHub that hung out in the Dart area for a long time. The percentage, though, I have a feeling of Flutter developers that have time to really get into the feature stuff that's being proposed on the Dart SDK forum, though, is small. Not everybody has time to do that, which is reasonable. And so we got a few people with concerns, but not enough where it seemed like, okay, we definitely, this is something we need to stop and look at more closely. And then when it was announced, suddenly you have something that affects everyone, and it affects them in ways that are very, very large in terms of the number of lines of code. It's a very in-your-face sort of change when you go to do the reformat. And so we have thought about ways to do these things with try to identify those moments, I think, a little earlier and get them onto resources like the forum on itsallwidgets.com. I don't know if it's folks using the forum, by the way. Where's Thomas? Who put it up? There is a good forum now at forum.itsallwidgets.com, and threads are being created there to start discussion and stuff like that. There were also a few, in that particular thing with the formatter, there were also a few things that immediately came up when the change was made that just we hadn't found the right people to give us that feedback. One of the comments that we got after it was launched was for people with dyslexia. Sometimes those specific formatting intentions where people were adding comments very deliberately really mattered to that population. And we just didn't, either we didn't hear that at all or we didn't hear it, we didn't pick up on it. And so that was the thing that we learned from that. So yeah, I think there is work for the DevRel team to do to identify these things and actively start conversations a little bit and make sure people hear about these things. And I think there are also some things that were just unique to that change. So hopefully that's a useful answer for you. Yeah.
What's the status of macros, and are you planning to return to development?
Yeah. Did you say macros? Macros, the language feature? Yeah. The Dart team paused the work on macros as the overarching large feature there. We're also looking then into more targeted use cases that I think we were intending macros to solve for, and then look at each one of those use cases more individually. A good one is like, how can we improve the speed of code generation with like build runner as a good example, because that might help folks when they're generating JSON serializable, deserializable code. So I expect to see more sort of improvements and features more specifically for different things. But yeah, macros was paused.
All right, I have a bit of a overarching question. Given the fact that, when Flutter started, it was essentially, declarative framework for like mobile and, the only game in town in terms of like really fast hot reload, but other frameworks and different platforms like Jetpack Compose and SwiftUI are essentially catching up to what you've done like for the past 7 or so years now. And I'm just wondering, there might be a point where, all these other non-Flutter declarative UI frameworks might converge, where they might work on each other's platforms respectively. Something like, I guess, Kotlin, whatever JetBrains has for multi-platform compose, for example. I guess the bigger question is, where does the Flutter team stand in terms of trying to prepare for that eventuality, where you might be overshadowed by, other declarative UI frameworks essentially overtaking Flutter in the future? And how are you going to prepare for, such an eventual event?
That's a very good question that I will have a short answer to, and then let someone else answer better. Will just be the best framework, and then it will be an easy choice.
Yeah, it's clear there's a ton of innovation in this space, and one thing that I love is that how each system builds on the other systems and gets influenced by other systems and innovate. Like, there's no monopoly on innovation here, and I don't want there to be. So in one sense, it pushes everyone else forward. So that's really good, and I think we'll continue to do what we always do: innovate, listen closely to our users, partner with the ecosystem, and continue to play on our strengths of just really focusing on the developer experience and really leveraging the fact that we have a kind of unique technical architecture. Not only does that go everywhere, but I truly believe it's the future of how UIs will be built. The fact that we have that portable rendering engine, to me, that can go anywhere and give you the control to kind of build anything you have in that you and your designers have in mind, is just like so powerful. And yeah, everyone's going to keep innovating. Everyone's going to keep like learning from each other. Just we'll keep doing the same, and it's going to be okay.
I asked this question to Andrew yesterday, but I feel it might be useful for the larger community. And I was talking about specifically 3D. We have the need for showing some 3D assets in our app. We don't need Flutter to be a game engine. We don't need anything like Flame for 3D. We just want to show it. So Flutter Scene seems like a good start. Is there anything on the way there?
I would repeat my answer, but I didn't really have a good one at the time, to be honest. Be happy to repeat it. I think Flutter GPU and Flutter Scene, it is fully embracing 3D is opening a can of worms that we have deliberately kept closed for 10 years, But people are, people do want to use, people don't want to say no to their designer, which we've told them they never have to do. And if you watch the Grant Skinner video that I snuck into the keynote, there was a 3D effect in there where they had done some modeling with some meshes and then presented it as a 2D effect, but it was based on 3D. There was a time, years ago, also at Flutter Interact, I think, where Rive was showing off how they could take a 3D mesh and collapse it into a 2D mesh. And so when it comes to prioritization, we're trying to focus on the things that we know will hit the most people and that we can definitely stand behind in the long term. And that's why those packages have gotten to where they are, right? To try and be like, well, we can definitely go this far. But we aren't, I don't see a big 3D project in our roadmap right now if I were to go look at the 2025 roadmap. And so I would approach it that way. You're doing something like that. You're on the frontier of Flutter, which is awesome, by the way. People should be on the frontier of Flutter and let us know where it's falling apart, because, you get far enough out and it will. But yeah, you're on the edge there. So let us know how it goes.
I just wanted to say a time check. Maybe one more question. Because, yeah, so, well, let's say one more question, and then, yeah, you can find us around. Yeah, I'll be right over there. Yep.
Hello. So I had this question, but I heard that one of the next things is that we'll make Flutter more design frameworks friendly, but design systems rather. But my question is, will this involve removing material and Cupertino from the core Flutter framework and are making Flutter framework core more lightweight. Does the goal involve this? And if so, what are the timelines? Do you have any priority? You can tell us how soon we are expecting these things, because it's been a thing that everybody's been asking for, and it will be nice to actually tell us something in this regards. Thank you.
Yeah, so we're discussing on what exact approach we want to do. There's some things we got figured out, some things we're still working on. We are considering removing Cupertino material, but we're not settled yet. We are going to make the base offerings bigger, and we're going to make Cupertino material slimmer. That's pretty settled on. In terms of timeline, whatever we do is probably going to be a pretty big change. So it's something we want to communicate with the community. So you'd hear from us. It'll be a ongoing discussion. It'll be a effort we want to be very public about. It was brought up, like putting something out there without people knowing that the discussion is happening and we don't hear everything. We do not want that to happen. So stay tuned. We want to hear from everyone. This is kind of like a measure, not twice, but 10 times cut once situation. So just hold on.
One last question. One last question.
Yeah, okay.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you so much for the Q&A. I had a question around app to app. If there were any plans to improve the tooling and the experience around it. I've found that very recently it's become a little bit less stable, specifically on iOS. And it's become a little bit more difficult to manage the distribution and more generally like the signing and then finally the integration into our apps.
Yeah, a great question. I don't think we have anything super big there on our roadmap. However, I'd love to meet with you right after and learn more about those specifics. Yeah, thank you.
Is there a future where we have JSON serializable data models without code generation?
The short answer is probably how many people are asking for it. There was a time when work on macros was paused so that we could do some things that were solutions to specific problems, which is where records came from. The team set down macros for a while and worked on records. One of the things that the folks here can do, folks at home, is show up on the Dart GitHub and say, I wanted macros because I wanted X or I wanted Y. And then get people to thumb up those issues and let us know the biggest things that you were trying to do, the biggest pain points that you were trying to solve, that macros made you excited about as a general solution to those problems. I know JSON serialization is at or near the top of the list of things people wanted. I've heard that talked about online on GitHub and also just in hallway conversations. So I know it's in the mix. I don't know where it is on that list, though. I know that speeding up Build Runner, which we were talking about before, is something they've talked about to make that easier. But yeah, tell us the problems you were trying to solve, and that will help steer the team to solve the right problems. Yeah. Thank you for being here.